Hi guys, this is Krishnan, research microbiologist and your friendly neighborhood nerdy science guy, here with more topics to discuss. So one of the questions I get quite often is people say they make their own probiotics, or they make their own ferments, really is what they're doing, their own kombucha at home or sauerkraut, and then they wonder if they still need to take a probiotic if that's what they're doing at home. First, I would say that if you're doing that at home, that's absolutely fantastic. They're really good for you. Any kind of ferment, certainly your kombuchas and sauerkrauts and nano, any of those things, if you're making that at home and consuming it, bravo to you, that's fantastic. But there is a significant difference between a ferment and a probiotic. They're very different things. First thing is a ferment, the benefit from a ferment really comes from the fermentation process. That's during the fermentation process when the bacteria or yeast, whatever inoculum you're using to create the fermentation, they've basically started digesting the substrate. So it could be sauerkraut, it could be fruits, it could be SCOBY if you're making a kombucha. But during that digestion process, they produce things like organic acids, they produce peptides like dipolonic acid, they produce things like 13-MTD, all of these really healthy, important compounds that feed your microbiome, that reduce inflammation in the body, that reduce inflammation and stress in the gut. All of these things are extremely beneficial for your gut and for your system, but they are not delivering live, functioning, active bacteria into your microbiome. So there's a difference. So a fermented food is really a food product that feeds your microbiome and also provides compounds that are really good for the host. All of the bacteria during the fermentation, during the fermentation process is going to die in your stomach. And so you still need a probiotic that can go in and create a functional change in the rest of your microbiome. Our ancestors got both fermented foods and probiotics. Our ancestors ate fermented foods by accident in the beginning because they allowed things to spoil, and then they started developing the ability to ferment things to preserve them for longer periods of time. But they got their fermented foods, but they also got their probiotics because they were also smart enough to eat dirt. They didn't sterilize their environment, they didn't sterilize where they prepared food, they didn't sterilize their hands and utensils and all that, so that every time they ate food, they got a whole bunch of spore bacteria and other environmental organisms that ended up acting as probiotics as well. So our ancestors did both. And if you're doing fermented foods and not a probiotic yet, then you're about halfway there to getting and achieving this ancestral lifestyle that'll be really great for your microbiome, but you got to add the right probiotic in. And of course, as you know, we work with the spore-based probiotics like Just Thrive. That's what we do all our research with. These spore-based probiotics can actually go in and increase the diversity of your microbiome, increase the growth of these really important protective keystone strains. Of course, they alleviate leaky gut, as we've published and are doing more studies on that as well. Those are the functions of a really effective probiotic. The ferment is going to go in and almost act like a prebiotic as it starts to feed some of the good endogenous bacteria, as some of the fermented components get absorbed into your system, help you reduce inflammation, help detoxify the gut to some degree, help reduce inflammation in the mucosal lining and the gut intestinal lining as well. So all of those things are beneficial. So if you're doing just one of them, you're only getting about 50% of the benefit. So I always recommend people to do both. Bravo to you if you're doing your ferments at home. Just add in your 1 cap a day of Just Thrive and you'll be really helping your system.